Renting a property in Singapore can be quite an interesting process, particularly if you haven't done it before and if this is your first foray into Australian expat life. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 simple tips when it comes to renting a property as an Australian expat here in Singapore. Hi there, I'm Jared Brown. If you're new to the channel, thank you for tuning in. I'm an Australian expat financial planner here in Singapore. Having been here for 12 years now, I've seen my fair share and heard my fair share of interesting stories when it comes to renting property here in Singapore. And I'd like to think that I've gotten smarter over the years, so here are 5 tips that I'd like to share with you to hopefully avoid some of the all too common pitfalls that we see many Australian expats making when it comes to renting a property in Singapore. So let's dive straight in. Now, number 1, in terms of tips when it comes to renting property in Singapore, is documenting the condition of the property as soon as you take the lease or you move into that property. So by this, I mean taking photos, taking videos of absolutely everything. There's a scratch on the floor, there's a mark on the wall, there's a light globe that doesn't work, there's something tearing off or the fridge door doesn't close properly. Whatever it may be, take photos, take videos of absolutely everything. Save them and send them to the vendor or the landlord's agent and have them confirm receipt. This now acts as your documented proof of the condition of the property when you moved in. So if there's new marks on the wall or new marks on the floor or whatever it may be, you can now substantiate whether they were caused by you, whether they were fair wear and tear, or whether they were there when you moved in. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to consider having an agent on your side. We all know that there's a listing agent working for the vendor, and they are absolutely not working for you. That'll become clear as soon as you start the process. But you can also have an agent who actually works for you as the tenant. Now, depending on the actual amount of rent that you're paying, this one chops and changes from time to time, so check out the rules and regulations when you're going through the process. But you can have an agent that acts for you. They will be there to not only find the property, to negotiate the lease, but to also deal with any problems that might arise throughout your tenancy. Something breaks, something needs repairs, some maintenance item needs to be corrected, or there's an issue with the lease, you need to exit the lease. Whatever it may be, having an experienced property person or real estate agent in your corner in Singapore can be quite powerful. So don't ignore that one if it is suitable. That's number 2. Number 3 is to check you are paying a fair price. Check you're not being taken for a ride, and you can do this on the URA website. You can check out the district, you can even check your condo for recent leased prices. Check out the same size, the same number of bedrooms, the same area, the same layout, and you can see exactly what they are actually going for. You can determine which months you want to look at, the last few months, the last 12 months, whatever it may be. You have complete transparency of what those lease agreements actually go for. That'll give you an idea of whether you're actually paying the fair price. And that's not only helpful when you're moving into a property, but even renegotiating a lease as well. That gives you a significant leg to stand on to also look at whether prices are going up, down, or sideways. When you're renegotiating with your landlord and they're asking for a 10% increase, and you can see on the URA website the prices actually went down 5%, and therefore you believe you should be getting a discount. So don't ignore that one. It's a really helpful tool to work out if you're paying a fair price, because as you may be finding, or soon will, or may have already experienced, some of the listing prices can be quite strange to say the least. So that's the next one. Let's move on to number 4. Now, number 4 is to make sure that within your lease agreement you have what they call the diplomatic clause, or what is commonly known as the expat clause. Now, usually if you're signing a 2-year lease, this will allow you to break the lease without penalty beyond the first 12 months. So if you're fired, you lose your job, your business shuts down, you lose your employment pass, you have that ability to get out of your lease should that happen. Now, if you don't have that diplomatic clause, of course, it's then at the discretion of the landlord to let you out of that lease agreement. So this can be a really powerful one, particularly if you're an Australian expat, and especially if your budget doesn't allow for a lot of flexibility, you don't have a significant amount of savings, and in the event you did lose your job, you'd have to leave the country quite quickly. So don't ignore the diplomatic clause, make sure you include it in your lease agreement. And number 5 is to check the conditions within your lease agreement that you have to hand the property back in. Some landlords will require you to repaint, clean the windows, fix lighting, whatever it may be. The common ones are usually to professionally clean the curtains. Obviously, any fair wear and tear is usually allowed for, but any major differences or major defects that you've caused, naturally you would want to rectify. But read that part closely. If you've moved into the property and it hasn't been repainted, but the landlord expects you to repaint it on the way out, you might suggest that's not terribly fair and seek to have that one removed. So there you have it, not an exhaustive list of everything you should consider when renting a property in Singapore, but hopefully a few things to at least give some thought to shed some light on when renting here in Singapore as an Australian expat. Thank you for tuning in. Drop me a note with any comments, any questions. Do remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one.